to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, ESPN News. 250-plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up, as always, is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I'll get my reads in a moment. I don't have that. That's why I can't read it in front of you. I don't memorize all of these things. Listen, I got a lot of stuff to get into. Make no mistake about it. There's a lot of stuff to get into. Big Friday in the world of sports. Big-time game coming up tonight. Los Angeles Lakers versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, Jason Witten has returned to football. He's going to be a Dallas Cowboy. We'll be getting into that. We'll talk to our very own Mel Kiper Jr. at the start of hour number 2. Why? Because he's Mel Kiper Jr. That's why. And Kyler Murray's probably going to be the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft, the reigning Heisman Trophy Award winner out of Oklahoma. Kingsbury, the new coach who doesn't deserve to be the head coach of a National Football League team, nevertheless, is the head coach hired by the Arizona Cardinals. That's the guy that he wants in all likelihood. That's what they'll do. They'll draft him. They'll trade, Josh Rosen, and that will be that. So we'll talk about all of that with Mel Kiper Jr. But the first order of business is the news that came down after I went off the air yesterday on radio. Got to get into a little baseball. Bryce Harper, 13 years, $330 million from the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, let me say this. First thought that went to my mind, I'm very, very, very happy that the New York Yankees didn't sign that deal. I'm very happy they didn't do that because they didn't need to do that. We've seen enough marquee, major, big-time hitters come through the Bronx wearing Yankee pinstripes, good enough to get you to the postseason, but not good enough to deliver you a world championship. And the fact of the matter is, you got to have elite pitching. Pitching that shows up. See, this is why I love the Houston Astros. This is why it pained me to watch the Boston Red Sox last year. Because you had cats that showed up. Whether it's Chris Sale in Boston, or Porcello rather, or whether it was Verlander and Keuchel and those boys in Houston, you got to have pitching. You got to have 2 frontline starters. That's what you got to have. And as much as I like Severino, he's had moments where he's wet the bed. Tanaka's Tanaka. I don't see Chris, CeCe Sabathia, he's 37 years of age. This is his last year. We get all of that. But I'm not sure about how reliable and stout the pitching is going to be for the Yankees. So I'm very, very happy that they weren't the ones that signed Bryce Harper to $330 million. Now, having said all of that, it's very, very important that I say this. I actually think that Bryce Harper kind of made a mistake not signing on with the Los Angeles Dodgers. 4 years, $180 million, $190 million, depending on which report you want to believe. But he wanted a longer-term deal, and I can't knock him for that. But it's less than the average per year that Manny Machado's making or Arenado's making in Colorado. So my attitude is, hey, to each his own. It's about what you choose. And in the case of Bryce Harper, according to Scott Boras, he wanted a long-term deal. He wanted the kind of contract that said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to retire here. There's a no-trade clause, but there's also a no opt-out clause for his part either. Philly's committed to him. He's committed to Philly. And I got to tell you something. I think it's a win-win for both. The man's going to average $25.4 million per season, number one. Going to put him out there in right field. Defensively, from a metrics perspective, he's not expected to be worse than he was last year. He's expected to be better, even though the average was .249, a 70% drop-off from the .319 batting average he had the previous year. Let's remember that Bryce Harper, career on-base percentage of .388, slugging percentage of .512. I mean, let's give the man respect where it's due. He's a special, special talent. National League MVP in 2015. He's a special talent. And when you look at the numbers that he signed for, let's be very, very clear about something here. Man's going to make $25 million a year. And on top of it all, you're the Phillies. Not only do you still keep at least 3 starters in your rotation and 2 relievers before really triggering or tinkering towards that luxury tax, but you've positioned yourself because of his contract, which, I mean, when you really, really look at how it averages out, it's like 12th in the league. When you really look at it, it doesn't prevent him, or the Phillies rather, from going out there and pursuing Mike Trout. Could you imagine Mike Trout and Bryce Harper on the same team? Lord have mercy. Now that would be something special. Now we talking world championship right there. Because Mike Trout's the best. And oh, by the way, if Bryce Harper, because according to our very own Tim Kirkchin, the number had to be 325. The second Manny Machado got 300. You had to give Bryce Harper $325 million. You had to figure out a way how you were going to get to that point. So if I had to tack 3 additional years onto it to make sure I got him to that number, that was what I was going to have to do if I were the Philadelphia Phillies. So we understand it. But I got to tell you this. If Bryce Harper is worth $330 and Manny Machado is worth $300, what in God's name is Mike Trout worth? What on earth is Mike Trout worth? I'm not going to lie to y'all. I think at this point, Mike Trout has the opportunity. I'm not saying it's going to happen because it'll probably be more like 400. But Mike Trout has the potential to be the first $500 million player in baseball, in the history of sports. $500 million. As crazy and ridiculous as that sounds, he has the potential to be that. All I'm telling you is you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it. You can play around with it all you want to. You absolutely positively can't ignore that possibility because he's Mike Trout. And none of these players are better than him. Now, you can look at Bryce Harper and say they're in the same class. I don't think so. Not after last season. Mike Trout is the creme de la creme. He's clearly the class of Major League Baseball. There's no one on his level. So if you got somebody like Manny Machado getting $300 million, imagine what Trout's going to look for. And then, of course, that begs the question, how is Major League Baseball going to pay for all of this stuff? Ladies and gentlemen, television deals. National broadcast television rights, local broadcast television rights, all of that stuff plays a role in the money that teams are able to generate. Not to mention the fact that Bryce Harper is marketable, just like Mike Trout would be marketable. So there's a lot of things that you could utilize that could position you to pay these guys. It's very, very few guys that are going to ever get paid like this. Bryce Harper, to his credit, ended up being one of them. Mike Trout, to his credit, will inevitably be one of them. That's what we're talking about here. It can't be ignored. It's just that simple. Bryce Harper, congratulations to him. Philadelphia Phillies, I think, definitely will be better than they were last year. We will see what happens. But I will say this. There appeared to be hesitancy on the part of Bryce Harper's willingness to sign his deal with the Philadelphia Phillies. When he has his press conference, whether it be in probably Clearwater, Florida, for spring training, he needs to make sure everyone is fully aware that he was just in negotiations. You do not want to give the city of Philadelphia the impression that you didn't want to be here. Because first of all, Bryce Harper's going to have it rough enough because inevitably all of them go through a slump. And when his slump arrives, Philadelphia ain't going to be kind. Trust me, with these amount of dollars, it comes with expectations. Philadelphia don't play around. I'm here right now. I'm telling you what I know. Philadelphia don't play. I worked in this city for 17 years. I'm not bragging, but I was a preeminent voice in this city for the vast majority of that time. I know this city. It's a second home to me. I am telling you what I know. This town will be merciless if this man does not live up to expectations. I'm just letting y'all know. So just keep that in mind. But I also want to say it was a good deal on the part of the Philadelphia Phillies to get those years, to get him at that number, to not compromise your future plans, to pursue future free agency, to keep some of your talent intact while making sure to not necessarily trigger that luxury tax number. I got to give credit where credit is due. Plain and simple. And then when you look at some of these things, when you look at some of these payrolls, it's just not, you just can't ignore it. I'm just looking down at some of these things that I'm about to share with y'all in a second, because you know how phones are. These damn phones, for crying out loud. When you look at the payroll tracker, okay? Boston Red Sox, 2019, the upcoming season. Boston Red Sox have the largest payroll. That's what they're telling us, okay? What are we talking about here? Boston Red Sox, $221 million. Chicago Cubs payroll, $210 million. Yankees, number 3 on the list, $198. This is their payroll, projected payroll for this upcoming season. The Dodgers at number 4 at $192. The Angels at number 5 at $167. The Giants at number 6 at $164. The Mets at 7 at $157. The Nationals at 8 at $157. Just a few, about 40, almost $100,000 cheaper. About $100,000 cheaper. Cardinals and the Astros paying out the top 10. The Philadelphia Phillies projected payroll for 2019 is $137 million. They rank 13th in Major League Baseball. Things going to get very interesting. Philadelphia Phillies ain't playing. Not just in a top 5 market. Now they're acting like a team in a top 5 market. Let's hope it continues. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Other thing I want to get into was LeBron James, the Los Angeles Lakers, going up against the Milwaukee Bucks tonight at the Staples Center. The Lakers have 21 games left. They're about 3.5 games out of the 8th and final playoff spot. Something very interesting happened last night. The Golden State Warriors lost the game. Kevin Durant did not play, but they still lost to the Orlando Magic. Kevin Durant was receiving rest. They still lost to the Orlando Magic. But having lost, had Denver won in Denver against Utah, Denver would have been the number 1 seed in the Western Conference today. But on their home turf, a place where I believe their record was like 27-4 coming into last night's game, they lost a home game to the Utah Jazz. That is what happened to the Denver Nuggets. And I'm here to tell you, I am of this belief, as crazy as it sounds, the Lakers could beat most teams in the Western Conference. The way they were flowing earlier this season, before LeBron James went down Christmas Day, I was predicting the Lakers were going to the conference finals. And I'm not backing up from that. I'm like what it would have been had LeBron not gotten hurt. But now that LeBron has been hurt and is working his way back into things and how that's compromised the team in his absence, I no longer see that as a possibility. Now I'm just worried about them making the playoffs. But I will tell you this. Could the Lakers beat Denver? I think they could. I think it'd probably go, I wanted to say 7, but it would have to go 6. I don't think they'd win a game 7 at Denver. But if they stole one and then won the 3 games that they played at the Staples Center, I think they could pull that off. But it starts with tonight. You got 21 games left. And over the course of the next 8 days, the Los Angeles Lakers have 5 games. They play Milwaukee tonight. They play Phoenix at Phoenix tomorrow night. They play the Clippers Monday, the Nuggets Wednesday, and the Boston Celtics Friday. That means 4 of their next 5 games are at home, including 3 straight. The one hiccup in terms of a road trip is to Phoenix for tomorrow night. Ladies and gentlemen, if the Lakers, in my opinion, don't go 4-1 over their next 5 games, they're not making the playoffs. They're going to have to either beat Milwaukee tonight and then 3 of your next 4, or lose to Milwaukee tonight and win every other game until next Saturday, or through next Saturday against Boston. They got to do it. Because if they don't do it, Lakers, in my opinion, are not making the playoffs. I think it's that serious. There would still be 16 games left. But Sacramento and the Clippers, and to some degree Minnesota, would have to be cooperative. And I don't think you're going to get that kind of cooperation from those folks. Sacramento don't mind getting to the playoffs. They want to go against the Golden State Warriors. They like their chances. They like the fact that they be able to play with house money. That's what they like. The Clippers were supposed to be tanking. You trade Tobias Harris. If you make the playoffs, that means your draft pick is no longer lottery protected because you're not in the lottery, and as a result, it goes to Boston. But if you miss the playoffs, you keep your pick. I thought the Clippers were going to lose on purpose, and it's lo and behold, they still trying to win games. And as it pertains to LeBron spoke to the media. And do we have sound for LeBron speaking to the media yesterday? Because he was asked about the criticism about his defense. And I don't have the quote directly in front of me at this particular moment. So I'll paraphrase if we don't have the sound. LeBron James basically invited everybody to come at him. That's what he did. He invited everybody to just come at him. You know, my teammates, I don't care about criticism as long as my teammates and I are fine, blah, blah. Oh, whatever, stop. Here's the deal. LeBron James, once again, is trying to change the narrative. And this is the lone, as far as I'm concerned, it's the lone criticism I have of him. There's certainly not much to criticize about his game. He's the greatest in the world when healthy. When not healthy, not so much. But this dude is phenomenal. And he's going to go in that special room in the Hall of Fame where everybody ain't invited. See, there's different levels to the Hall of Fame. I don't believe that Hall of Famers who never won championships belong in the same room with those who did. I think that D. Wade belongs in the same room with Kobe and LeBron and MJ. I think that a different room is reserved for the Karl Malones, John Stockton, Patrick Ewings of the world. I think Olajuwon belongs in that room. I think Shaq belongs in that elite room. I think guys like that belong in. I love my brother Charles Barkley, special. Great guy, great man. I think that he belongs in the house. Hell, with how he carried Phoenix to the finals, how AI carried the Sixers to the finals, and how great they were as offensive players and what have you, I think they belong in the house. Hell, I think you should be on the same floor in some respects, but there's a special room for the Isaiah Thomases, the Larry Birds, the Michael Jordans of the world, the Shaq, the Kobes, the Tim Duncans of the world, D. Wade, LeBron James of the world. I think there's a special room for certain dudes where only a select few get to enter. And LeBron is up there. He's right in that room. There's no up there. He's in that room. But here's the problem with LeBron. constantly trying to change the narrative. No one said anything. Nobody with basketball sense would say that LeBron James can't do anything on the basketball court. He's that great. What we're saying is you don't sometimes. Literally choosing not to. When we talk about LeBron James and him not playing defense, it's not that he's not playing defense, ladies and gentlemen. It's that he's pointing the finger at other people for not doing it when it was his job. And he's demonstrative and publicly so while doing so. That's not right. You can't lead like that. You're responsible for that. And that's the kind of thing that he has to be held accountable for. That is the kind of thing that he has to be accountable for. Got to hold him accountable for that. Passing the buck. Can't do that. And expect people not to notice. And going up against Milwaukee tonight, and then the Clippers, Nuggets, and Boston next week after this reprieve against Phoenix, supposedly, we're going to watch how LeBron James acts. Is he a galvanizer? Somebody that's going to bring cats together? Is he going to do that? Or is he going to be a divider? It's a legitimate basketball question. Nobody's talking about his mama or his wife or children or anything like that. We're talking basketball, ladies and gentlemen. And when you play in front of millions of people, we have a right to look at you and dissect what you're doing. It's not a crime. It's not a crime. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live. That was Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. 888-SAY-ESPN is the number to call up. That's 888-729-3776. Back with your calls and more in a minute before Mel Kiper Jr. comes on in hour number 2. And remember, Jeff Passett, our Major League Baseball analyst and reporter, he'll be on to talk with us about Bryce Harper and then some in a minute, so don't touch that dial. You're listening live to Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
Bryce Harper is finalizing an agreement with the Philadelphia Phillies.
It was 180 last year, but they missed the playoffs 17 years.
13-year, $330 million deal.
Clearly, Bryce Harper wanted to make one deal for the rest of his career.